Cool. Thanks, Tam. And how long? These just like 1 or 2 minutes kind of thing?
Yeah, I'll set a timer for about a minute, since a minute and a
Okay.
half, since a handful
Okay.
of us today.
Okay. So the main thing right now is Sampo getting the working group up and running. So a lot of like administrative stuff as we're kind of setting things up, and we're setting things up in Clarity. So we're like trying to figure out what the best practices are. But this morning we actually had our first work team going on the Sampo analysts. So this is basically the group of people who are going to like try to like standardize some of our the ways that we analyze the data coming in from transparency on the financial numbers. That's the main thing for me right now. I will pass to Edu.
Thank you. Temperature check for me, it's warm. I feel like we made some good advantages on the work for Communitas regarding the user journey. Then have this conversation with Angela that was really grounding, and also with Livy, conversation about race and how sometimes just because we assume that everything here it's okay. There are certain topics that we don't discuss here in the TEC. One of them is race. One of them could be queerness. One of them could be inclusion for women, and that is something that I was brought again to awareness in a conversation I had with Libby, where I was like, I actually don't know any other queer person here on the TEC, and that's interesting. What is the reason of that? I don't see many color people in the TEC. Why is that happening? So it's just an interesting question that was brought. So that's why it's warm for me today on Temperature Check. And with that, I will pass it on to Lauren. Hello there.
Hey everyone. Temperature check for me. I mean, I'm feeling a little chilly. I missed the Twitter planning sync this Monday, or maybe it didn't happen, so I feel like a little bit out of the loop. But last week felt really good. I mean, like the week leading up to this week felt really good. Like with welcoming Gideon into the TEC, and I love the idea of compensating stewards with TEC. So it feels like we're kind of like making a few new modifications, which are exciting. Yeah, but I feel also like a little bit out of the loop. So I'm like chilly. I'm chilly here in the corner, and I'll pass it on to Chewy.
Thank you, Lauren. It's like the first week, like since like all of the traveling and everything, like it was just like some crazy weeks for me. And this is like a very like fresh like start. I feel that there are like many things like different like to this like reapproach to comes on my side as a steward. So I feel that the temperature is like fresh right now. But I'm very excited and motivated to start having more initiatives. We just had the communications call, then started talking about this possibility of having more real life token engineering events to, like have like these gathering points for different people around that are passionate about token engineering as side events for conferences. So yeah, these kind of ideas like get me very excited because it's been like a while since we wanted to like start doing this stuff. So I feel that's like that's gonna be like a next milestone for communications, diversifying in these ways, and yeah, keep our planning and different learnings just like growing. And I'll pass it to Livy.
Thanks, Chewy. I feel like things are quite hot. I think we are reaching a very interesting point, actually, of how much we're scaling, and does bring some challenges that feel scary and exciting at the same time. So I think we've been doing really well so far organizing ourselves, but then I started to see some just some challenges on communication, mostly how there's a lot of information running around on more like siloed conversations, and how can we start bringing more into the open and just seeing how there's some topics that could be in a large impact advice process that have been dealt as they were a small impact advice process, and just for some coordination issues of like, how do we keep our attention spent on everything, and the funding, the streams, and compensation for working groups. It's all starting to pile up, and it feels like in the same pace that we are welcoming a lot of people, still many of us are involved in many working streams, which is both great and overwhelming. So yeah, I feel like things are hot, and that maybe we'll find like solutions soon for all of these challenges that are starting to become more clear. And I'll pass to Zatimus.
Thanks, Livy. Yeah, I second on that. I'm very excited to start doing stuff in Sampo. I think this is a very crucial working group, and I want to get my hands dirty. And on the other side, I've been very distracted with what's happening yesterday with One Hive. I was like, "Hey Sam, I just bought some ETH and it's not coming to my wallet." And he like, "Oh, I'll check it out later." And then was, "Dude, Sam, we're hacked." And it's like, okay, don't panic. Like, let's first like try to get this Honeyswap, get so no one can use it. But the thing like was like the guy who do the hack was like, not the guy, but the company, and it was like they say like, okay, it's like they impersonate the owner, and then like the owner itself was back, and then they had these security measures, and it was kind of sucked, but finally it's turned down. So no bigger, it was a hack like could end up very bad. It was not like the hacker was not messing with the contracts or anything, so that's good. But yeah, I was like kind of distracted yesterday. But yeah, I'll pass it to Bea.
Thank you, Bruno. Yeah, for me, I'd say it's warm. Yeah, I'm very excited about the sample, and I'm eager to see some of the results of the things that we're currently planning. Although that might take a couple weeks. Overall, yeah, I mean the marketing team got its funds. I'm very. I like that Septi reached out to me to do a special edition newsletter for the audit. I think that ought to be replicated for other stewards and other working groups. As in, if you have any event going on, any issues that you're working on, any things that you think will be relevant to the broader community, please let me know so that I put in the newsletter. If you have any ideas for other types of outreach events that fall within digital marketing, also let me know. And so that the warm can get hot, basically. other than that, yeah, I've been trying to help other stewards with their issues, updating them on SendHub. Yeah, I've been understanding more and more how Clarity works. So we'll see if that is something that will work for Sample, and if other working groups, which are completely autonomous and can decide or not to adopt it, we'll see how that goes. But that's it for me. I will pass it to Mert.
Hey, Mert, are you able to unmute your phone?
Yeah, sure. I just missed, sorry. Yeah, so my temperature check is it's actually pretty warm. Like I've been participating sample calls, so it's a new journey. And the other side, Omega has been developing its initiatives. We are trying new budgetary styles. So once it's set up, like I would love to share it into Stewards. So maybe it can be a new way to like compensate within a working group. And also regarding proposal inverter, actually it's going super fast. Next week we will finish wireframes, and I would like to show maybe like I would like to invite stewards into one workshop so that we can have valuable feedback. Other than that, everything is going fine. And
maybe since we're running low on people, I could pass it to Juan for you.
Yeah, perfect. Thank
you. Thank you, Tam. Well, I share Libby's feelings with like growing and overwhelming, because like I think that gravity in the TC is still like taking shape, and now having this sort of iteration with Aragon is really hard to keep up with like the two communities. I have been fully involved in the TC since I've been here, and like splitting my attention in two organizations is super hard, and sometimes I feel overwhelmed, and that I take a long time to reply messages, but I am also motivated, but I think I need to continue delegating more. And something that I've seen from this experience is that I am glad that my first experience was in the TC, because I think really we are an example of DAOs, and that that the work that we have done, it's super valuable, and not all communities have taken the time to do it. So it's something that's really cool. And I'll pass to Griff.
Thanks, Wonka. Yeah, I think things are heating up. We found our groove. Things are just flowing. I feel like the Honeyswap hack is definitely a sort of an issue. Like I wanted to arbitrage against TC, and then was worried about it. Just didn't want to deal with it. Like I was thinking, oh, okay, I send wrapped XDAI or XDAI to another account and use that address or something and play the game, but didn't want to do it. But that being said, I was really impressed with what happened yesterday in like the crash and the TEC price. But really, it barely moved. Like we are really well poised to be like resistant to downward pressure in the market because of our bonding curve, which is incredible. Like things are working. Like it was like the price went down, but it should have been arbed back to about $2.08 or something like that. And I don't know if anyone in here did. I know Zeptimus was doing some arbing. But yeah, that's super cool. I mean, I don't think there's very many $4 million market cap, $5 million market cap tokens out there that didn't just dump yesterday. And the TC is like one of the few that's having a pretty decent, like while everything else is crashing, we're just kind of hanging. That feels good. I don't know who to pass it to though, Tam.
There's still Jean to go if you want to share.
Thanks, Miss Tam. Yeah, temperature I think would be tepid. Yeah, I'm extremely excited about Sampo and participating. I think that's probably why I'm here. In my own sense is that I really am looking forward to helping facilitate everybody else's mission and journey by trying to get as much funds in as possible. And but I'm got some cold water poured on me because of Nate's document that I was able to read through, and it was just a strong indicator that there are some concerning trends, and we'll try to do our best to mitigate all those concerns and help everybody move forward effectively. And last pass to Mr. Craig.
Would you like to share anything, Craig? I don't know if you're in a place where you can unmute. Okay, well, I'll take that as a no, Craig, but if you change your mind, let me know. And then I guess I'll close out to say, yeah, I would say warm to hot. I feel like the TEC has two big new initiatives, Sampo and TE governance. These just feel like these really heavy, like they're the future of the TEC in so many ways. So I feel like there's a lot of potential and a lot of excitement, really. Hey, Mitch, welcome. I thought you were on vacation.
Just
and
have
then
vacation.
I'd say, you just ended vacation for this.
Yeah.
Cool. And then I would say, Gideon becoming a steward, just the highlight of this week. It's just really so nice and sweet, and that having the new stewardship ceremony is just always the best, feels the best. I am slightly concerned because the stewards aren't going to have enough money to pay for this month, and I'm responsible to do the funding proposal. So I think that needs to get done very, very quickly. And it's one of these things that I need to just stop everything else and do this while everything else also needs to be done at the same time. So I'm having that moment where it's okay, this is pretty urgent. I need to put it on the forum. I need to share it for advice process, put it on the forum for advice process, and then put it in the gardens for hopefully passing, in 3 weeks. And then I would also say, this idea, this TE services, intake, discovery, matchmaking, market, it's really intriguing to me. I'm really sort of falling in love with this idea as a very lightweight service that the Token Engineering Commons can provide as a public good for token engineering, or value-aligned token engineering services like Longtail Financial and Block Signs. And lastly, the Commons Prize. Nominations are over. There are 36 amazing nominations. Everyone who has trust is member of the trusted seed, has trust tokens. They can start voting for the finalists starting tomorrow. Technically, you could vote today, but officially it's tomorrow. And so, yeah, I'd say warm to hot is my temperature. And I'll pass to you, Mitch, to close us out.
Temperature check.
That's right.
Yeah, let me think about this. Yeah, I don't know. Bear markets get me down. That's all I gotta say. It's like, oof, everything's just biting. Every day you wake up and you're like, oh, shit, That's a general overall temperature, and maybe it's not relative to the TEC, but it clearly affects us in some way.
Why the dip?
And other than that, good news today. It looks like we're ready to send out rewards for the reward system. So that was super huge. So I'm going to be doing that during/after this call. And cool to see some progress on the proposal inverter. Things are moving forward on that. So it's slowly but surely. I haven't had enough time to see Gideon's work in the sample working group, but I'm really looking forward to seeing more of that as well. And I think that's a good step in where we need to be looking right now. I'm gonna shoot in the dark, and I'll pass it to.
Don't pass it, don't do it. Everyone's done. You were the last one, except I see that Benz has joined. So now Benz is the last one. Benz, would you like to share maybe a minute of temperature check for yourself or the community? What seems to be going well? Maybe something that you want to share that isn't going so well?
Yeah. Temperature check. Warm. I think things are going well for me. I'm still kind of needing to zero in on things, but working on metrics specifically for TEC side of things. And met with Livy earlier last week, actually late last week. And I'm kind of going through and just cataloging some of like data sources and what could be rolled up from those kind of data primitives. And I'm working on reaching out to some people to fill in the gaps. So yeah, that's about it for me.
Cool, thanks for that. And Craig, last chance before we, oh, I see one.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
That's so cool. And of course, I have no temperature. I've been super busy otherwise, but I just wanted to say hello. And hi, Stewards. And I'm here to learn what everybody's temperature is. And I did notice that Gideon was a new steward, so congrats. It's really cool. Thank you. See you all.
Cool. Thanks for joining today, Craig. All right, so we have a pretty short agenda, so please feel free to add anything that you think needs to get put in here as well with priority. Any votes on gardens or Tau that we need to discuss? There should be, is there anything in our, oh, interesting. Is this related to Honeyswap, I guess?
Yeah, it's all the IPs are down.
Okay, so all of onehive.org is down?
Yeah,
okay.
But this is good for us actually.
Next agenda item then. Who wants to give an update on Honeyswap?
I mean, I was close. So basically, like, I was just buying the dip. And then I was like, hey, Sam, the money's not coming. And then he was like, okay. And then they were like checking everything, like in the smart contracts, like if someone did a commit or anything, nothing was there. It was just like some guy like that took the, like the IPs, the servers and stuff, and they just changed that. So all the transactions were going to this guy. But the good thing is like the exploit was minor. So at least what the OneHive crew were taking it as a win, like, if they were not collecting a proof or anything, like it was just, the money that they took, and it sounds like 20K. So it's not that much. And yeah, now the sites are down because it's just because like, the security is to get access, with just fake IDs or whatever. And then when the real person goes there to, hey, turn this down, they were like taking some time. And then even that, like they still have not access. Like as soon as the owner have access to that, it's going to be back to normal. The good thing is also like the OneHive is thinking moving the DNS, who it is right now, to an ENS, so it's more secure. So yeah, it's like, okay, security upgrade, and it's going to take like some time, like probably 24, 48 hours, depending on how fast these .t guys are. But yeah, I think like there is not a big loss, and it's actually pretty good. And yeah, that's my update.
Okay, Thanks for that. Go ahead, Griff.
So, where would we go to follow the progress? Do you know, Zap? Or Chewy, or anyone in close to the One Hive crew?
I've been pretty much like following Septi. I think he's close to whatever channels like the information is being like discussed on, but everything that like is official, they've been posting it in the Telegram group and pinning the message. So if you see like Mert or Stonky there, and they are saying it, probably is like a reliable source. But yeah, as Septi said, like hopefully this will be finished in the next few hours, and yeah, it's just like another one of those hits to One Hive that, yeah, we'll make it, of course, but
Which Telegram
but yeah,
group?
it's like Honeyswap Telegram group.
Okay, Honeyswap Dex.
Yes. Honeyswap Dex. I'm gonna be sharing the link in the TEC Telegram group anyway. So.
So if I understand correct, the scenario is essentially that the website was hijacked, and then some false information or false address was put in place of the real address, and that's how the scam was perpetuated. And that's the scope of the scam, right? And then to fix, is that right, Zep?
Yeah. Fake jacket was the word that I then had in my brain, but it's that.
Okay, and then basically they're just going to keep it down until they can ensure that all of the code that they put back up is accurate, and then perhaps take additional measures for more security protocols.
Exactly.
Yikes! Yeah, they're lucky that it wasn't more. 20K is in the scale of it could have been a lot worse.
Hey, one thing that pops to mind is there's a buddy of mine here in Seattle. Griff knows him. He goes by Brody Sattva. He's like an pretty senior Amazon web security person. And maybe Griff, we're talking tomorrow, so let's talk about that to see if he could be of any help, and just kind of like looking proactively at our systems to see what vulnerabilities we might have. I'll follow up with you separately tomorrow, Griff.
That sounds great. Yeah, I think Brody would be a great addition to just kind of audit if Honeyswap wants an audit. Honestly, they're very lucky. I don't know why the hacker didn't only stole 20K. What a silly dude. Or maybe just a nice guy trying to be a gray hat in some way, because honestly, this is very lucky.
Okay, anything further to add on the topic of Honeyswap and or an audit of our own sites and vulnerabilities? I like that idea a lot, Gideon.
I mean, it really shows that, like, what do we don't have a second website for our DAO. I mean, we can't access the Giveth DAO, we can't access TEC, One Hive, or Bright DAO. They're all down. So that's a problem. We should probably have a second instance of this running somewhere.
A second instance of the gardens.
Yeah. Like we did this for Aragon, or Sem did this for Aragon, where if One Hive's instance of Aragon and X dies down, then he runs it on Blossom Labs, right? So we're not dependent on one IP address. We should probably have a mirrored site for the gardens as well.
There was the issue that we had of the node going down. And so this is something I've talked about. Like if the XDI node goes down, then it's like a lot of this stuff becomes inaccessible. So it would be cool to think about creating a node of our own that can be shared.
Absolutely.
If there's anyone that wants to sort of take the lead on investigating and these options.
I'm definitely going to talk to Sam about it, about both options, and I'm a little short on DevOps support, unfortunately, but I'll see what we can do.
Okay, cool. Anything else to add about this topic before we move on? Okay, cool. Check in for the spotlight of the community call. I think it's all sorted now. I think that there was just some communication, timing differences, but Chris should be down for CAD this Thursday. Is that right, Manu?
Yes, correct. He has confirmed.
Yay, cool, excellent. I think it'll be really great for Token Engineering Commons to see the CAD proposal and maybe even more about what CAD can do. Quick question. We've been running out of time in our community calls. And now we have an extra spotlight at the end. So I don't know if we need to think about reformatting our community calls somehow, or it doesn't seem that they quite fit into.
Aren't we stopping doing praise?
Say it again. Oh, we're back. Say it again, praise.
Yeah, like aren't we stopping like dishing praise?
We're stopping transcribing praise.
Oh, but we're still dishing. Okay.
Of course we're dishing praise. You crazy? I think there'd be a riot, man.
Decentralized updates. It has to happen.
Yeah, maybe we should think about some sort of like shorter updates from our working groups in order to allow all of the working groups plus the spotlight plus token engineering plus now Sampo. So yeah, okay.
I think what's problematic is the more popular it is and the more people join and start praising other people, the less time we have for updates and for the spotlight. And that's not the right structure at all. And I'm not saying cut down on the time for praise. It's just something that's going to keep happening. Community is going to keep expanding. More people are going to join our community call. They're going to be excited to give praise. They're not going to know that they're timed. They're going to give like 5-minute praise. And so we're not going to have enough time for updates. So it has to be restructured like intrinsically. It's my opinion.
Just to add on that, I will say that the purpose of is just to recognize the purpose of the community call. Like we have other spaces where people can acknowledge what others are working, like retrospective or sprint planning, and so on. The right now the community call is the only soft social space that we have. So I will not cut down praise for that matter, because it's one of the rituals that we have in the community, and I feel that we should preserve it. Whereas the updates from the working group, as Griff mentioned, can be provided in a different way, or a separate call, or even part of sprint planning, something along those lines, and just have brief updates on the community call that are sense-making only, because I feel that otherwise we will only have calls that are for work or for meetings,
I think something as simple as timing each working group presentation could help us a lot.
Is there anyone who wants to take this on, like helping to propose a new format for the community call? Whether it's having praise time boxed to 15 minutes, and maybe we have to figure out how we could do that, in a way that doesn't take away from the cultural aspect of dishing praise that Edward was mentioning, but also still gives the working group enough time and the spotlight and token engineering time to share updates with the community about what's going on in the TEC. I mean, I also think of the purpose of the community call is to give updates about what's happening in our community. I mean, what's happening in each working group. But I think you raise a compelling argument, Eduardo. It's also about spreading the culture. And praise is such a cornerstone of that.
Would it be possible to just add 15 minutes to the end of the call? I know we have 2 calls right afterwards. There's a praise review call, praise quant review session, and there's a Gravity, was it the book club? I mean, if those could just start a little bit later, or start on the half hour or something like that, or we could just add 15 minutes and do the spotlight in that 15-minute time. The spotlight is the spotlight was removed earlier because we were running out of time. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I think we can be more efficient. I know I can be more efficient sometimes in the advice process stuff and going over the votes and the intro, and I could cut that down for sure. I don't want to not mention it because I really do think it's important enough to mention every week, these 2 things. But maybe we can also just extend the time and make the spotlight just be like a second 15-minute call that happens after the community call that we roll right into.
I would support that. What about the what are the 2 calls? Gravity
and praise. It's Mitch and Wonka. Would you guys be able to delay your calls?
Yep. For me, there's no problem. I also think that we will be ending this book club very soon. We are soon to ending the book, yeah. And times are just slots that we can take, and for a new book club we can take another schedule. I don't have any conflict with that, and the community call is really important.
So we need how much more? Half an hour more?
I mean, I think we only need to give the spotlight 15 minutes.
Okay.
I don't want.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, there's a lot of people to coordinate with.
I think that just going back to the idea of giving the spotlight a different time and having a session for that, it's simpler in the sense that it gives the time that it deserves, and the people who are actually interested in that can join and so on. I will say this, the spotlight for me, it's almost a different effort, because in my mind, if you are giving the effort if you're giving that time allocated for a spotlight, then anyone else, a contributor, can also will ask for time to talk about whatever is important for them. So I feel spotlight should have a different timing. That's it.
I think the counter argument for that would be another call. You're in the community call and you hear about projects and it's nice. Like, for example, myself, I feel the spotlight is happening on the call and I'm staying 15 minutes more. I feel I'm going to stay, but if it's booked on another hour that I don't know if I will be able to be there, probably I'll just don't go there, and then you miss on quorum.
Yeah, one thing I'll add is that Lydia and really actually Enti is the one who's been driving this, is this idea of asynchronous collaboration. It's the more people who get involved in this community, and the more working groups we have and the more stuff we have going on, the more packed the calendar is going to get with meetings. And so time starts to become really, really a choke point for us. So I think just in general, it would be great to be looking for ways to move the pieces of our collaborations where we can move them to asynchronous collaboration into asynchronous collaboration, and then keep the stuff that's really meant to be face to face, where there's like some cultural aspect and just some fun and that kind of stuff, and stuff where you really need real time feedback in the meetings. So I don't know exactly what that means for this, but just like as a general frame, I think this is just previews of coming attractions. You know, like it's going to get more like this over time, I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I also think that what Edu proposes is really cool, having another time. And what I think also is that the community is really so big that no matter the schedule that you choose, if you make it a really interesting call, you will have people there. And also that we move between this schedule that in Europe is like in the afternoon, but there are very few calls in other schedules. So it would be also cool to have like different targets.
Just a quick thought on that too. I think it could be cool if the community call could evolve more into a spot for token engineering showcase, like showing progress of proposals, having the initial praise as our ritual, and then feeling very welcoming. And that part that Griff shares about advice process and gravity, like maintaining some pillars of the community and having working groups be more contained within themselves, and the coordination of working groups and the updates happening more in the stewards call and the sprint plannings, and making it more like work driven, and then the community call that is more out facing to share a little bit more of projects that are aligned with our mission, and just bring people closer to this narrative.
Yeah, I think that's great. Like sometimes I also feeling like I'm telling the same on a store calls, and then on the community call I'm just saying the same thing again. I think that you nailed it there, Libby.
I agree with Livy too.
Yeah, I like this idea too, actually. I also do like, I don't know, I think the community is interested in what's happening in the working groups, and asking them to join the Scrum events to find out what's going on in the working groups and the community call. It just seems like asking, I don't know, for a lot. But I like the idea of having it. I like the idea of having our community call evolve into something different, and maybe we try something radically different than what we've been doing up to now.
Maybe the stewards call could be the place where people join to hear more about the working groups, and our temperature check in the beginning of this call could transform into a temperature check that's specific of the working groups we've been involved in. And then we have the council to discuss more deeply as stewards issues that we've been facing.
I like the format of this call allowing us to address whatever's hot at the time. And I would say, I think that's more important than making sure every working group goes. And that's sort of that's where this has naturally evolved. I don't know if you remember, we used to do it working group by working group in that format, but then things just sort of took priority that needed more discussion, and we didn't want to truncate those conversations. But maybe there's a different place for that. Maybe there's a different forum for that too, if not this call itself. All right, where do we leave this off then? Do we have a champion to try to reimagine the community call and share what they think it could be transformed into?
There is also a forum post that Nate started. I think, like, going with what Enti was saying, maybe we can, revive this forum post and discuss there if there is not a champion.
Okay. Well, maybe for now we'll leave it as something that's on our radar. For this Thursday, do we want to make it an extra 15 minutes, or do we want to see if we can just try to shorten some of each of us, be cognizant to try to keep the most important things discussed and shorten where we can in our presentations? So the option is basically 60 minutes, don't change the format, or add 15 minutes this Thursday. Do we have our opinions here?
I mean, I think we can shorten it for this Thursday. We're trying to add a CAD spotlight this Thursday.
Say that second part again. Yes, we're trying to add the CAD spotlight.
I have a blender in the background. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we will. So that sounds like we're going to do our best. And if there's a champion who would like to take on reimagining the community call in a more effective format for the community, then we can maybe bring that up when that comes up. What I can probably do, or Manu, maybe what you could do is open an issue just to capture this and leave it open, reimagining the community call. And we can not lose track of it, but maybe not drop what we're working on today to work on it.
I'll do you one better. I'll take on the issue and I'll be the one reimagining
it. Cool, Manu. All right, cool, excellent.
Hey, just one quick question. How long are the working group reports? Is that like 1 minute, 2 minutes? Like, how long are you normally doing?
It depends.
Some groups have a demo they want to show occasionally. You know, sometimes there's big updates. Sometimes legal and transparency are usually really short. Some groups are usually pretty long because there's always a lot going on every week.
Do we cut some working groups from the community call unless there's something big to report? Because sometimes it's just like, these are when we're meeting. You know, we could service that. Like, we could, instead of each working group say when they're meeting, we can have one slide that says when every working group is meeting, and no working group ever has to say that again.
I think that would be cool. It would be very easy to go through the calendar. Just it's not even a slide. It's just view the TEC calendar and just be like, so on Mondays we have these calls. On Tuesdays we have these calls. On Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. Wow, we do a lot of calls. We're hanging out together, guys. You know, NT's not happy about it, but you know, synchronous, we're doing it. So.
Does legal have to? I mean, do we even
legal doesn't.
Yeah.
Legal doesn't need to ever be up there again. Just announce the time. It would be nice to say if you know any, like it's one line.
That's true.
You know, like maybe we could have an announcement section.
Yeah, that's good. I like it.
And then, you know, all the normal calls, like calls for maybe a calls for contributors section. And we can just take, because that's all legal would never need to be there if we could just say, if you know any legal people, blah, 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 come to our call at this time every other Friday.
Yeah, I agree. And from time to time, other working groups have these sort of announcements too. Okay. Is Sampo presenting this Thursday? Is Sampo technically working? All right, cool. Yes. Okay, so if we maybe move on to the next topics are just updates. So I don't know, does anyone want to add anything to this? And or if not, reach out to Manu afterwards with ideas for this. We've come, this is like the second or third time we've talked about this, you know, trying to reimagine the community call. So yeah, there's a lot of good ideas we have already. Anyone want to add anything before we move on to the next topic? Hello, Dayagui. Welcome. You joined the TEC Stewards call, and you're very welcome just to hang out and listen in to our last few minutes. Do you want to introduce yourself or say hi? And hi, Iamoja. Welcome to the Stewards call too. Cool. Okay, so then maybe moving on to rewards update. That sounded good, Mitch. Yay.
Yeah, Christopher pushed. There was basically the issue was helping us get better decimal precision on the quantification process, I think it was. And so Christopher messaged me saying that's done. So I'm going to look into making that distribution today on the reward board DAO.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a noisy bird. Anyway, yeah.
Wow, that's exciting. That's huge. So today, rewards get distributed?
Yeah, I'm like kind of nudging Christopher. I'm like, hey, does this mean we're good? Like, no more issues. You know, I just want to check that before making a vote and messing something up. But as I understood, that was the last blocker and it's done. So we can send that out. And that'll, I think it has a 24 or 48 hour voting period. And then after that, this will be
What voting period?
on the DAO, because we have the reward board DAO
Okay, got it.
that actually holds the funds, right? So there's a vote duration on that. And so that looks good. Also awesome news is at the end of this week we'll be caught up on praise. We'll have quantified it all from July last year. So that'll be awesome. So going forward we'll be switching to bi-weekly quants for just 2-week periods. So it'll be actually like a quarter of the work of what we've been doing for the last 3 months. I'm sure quite a few people are stoked about that. So yeah, I mean, that looks super good. Z-Way and Nuggin have been putting out some really awesome stuff with the RAD dashboard, like doing cross-period analysis. Really interesting metric has been seeing the sharp decrease in praise dished. You know, and some of these like community health metrics that we get to analyze using praise data and source grid data as well. So yeah, really interesting progress overall with praise as well as RAD.
Cool.
Hey, Mitch,
Yes.
do you think it'd be nice, like, to distribute, like, you know, to the reward board vote during the rewards call, so so the coordination is more natural?
To make the vote?
Yeah, especially like probably not for this one, since we are very excited to get that done ASAP. But the thing is, like, when we get to the routine of doing that, I think like doing it during the reward call, since many of the reward board members are in there, I think it's a natural place just to, hey, remember, vote here. This is the distribution. Check it out. So yeah, it's then we don't need to do so much coordination.
I have a good strategy for it because I've been cat herding for givebacks on Give It. So I'm like, I screenshot, here's the parameters, please review this amount, and then like cat herding to get votes. If you want, we can do it together, but yeah, but we'll look into it in the call for sure, Zap. What's the best way?
Cool.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions or anything anyone wants to add?
Yeah, I have a question, Mitch. How many people are left to activate praise?
I'll have to nudge Christopher to get that from the database, but I can let you know I do.
Thank you.
I'll put it on my list. And maybe that's another question is, how did that go for you or for Communitas, whoever did it?
We finished everyone. Every person that you sent to the list was contacted. So yeah, some of them responded, some of them didn't.
Okay, cool.
I think that I will just at some point use the praise giver role to probably send a wide message to the community to say, hey, you have the praise giver role, check that you have your account set up with. And that will be the last instance because, I mean, we cannot keep going after people individually because the amount of people that will be increasingly. So yeah, I think we can do that kind of wider message.
Yeah, for sure. And like if they don't activate and the funds go out, like we're starting to think about how they can retroactively claim their funds from praise. So it's something on our radar because we can't wait for them to send out these distributions. So anyway,
sure,
cool. Yeah, I got that on my list. I'll talk to Christopher.
Cool, great. That's really the most exciting update since Gideon's nomination. So we have 2 minutes left. Quick update on proposal inverter, perhaps? And how do we get visibility into it? Is there a way that we can have some more visibility into it, or does that mean just hopping onto the Prime DAO server to see what's going on there?
So actually, we have a Notion page where we update every document, processes, etc. So I think following that will be helpful. But also, most of the conversation happening in Prime DAO Discord. So maybe it will be helpful as well. Regarding the development, actually, just yesterday I've talked with the front end dev. Like we are starting, we've almost finished the design phase, the UI UX. So actually, it's going very well, like very exciting. But other than that, I mean, everything is fine. Like no blocker.
Cool, good to hear. Thanks for that update, Mark. Anything else to add, Mitch?
Really cool call last week. God. Sorry, everything's crazy today. Going over the business logic was really interesting. So that was really cool and kind of resolving some last corner issues around like changing parameters after the proposal has been launched. So I mean, that was cool. I mean, Mert probably has a better idea how close we are getting to real development, but there is progress. I can say that.
Like,
okay.
I mean, in terms of the roadmap, we are not behind the proposal, like the actual proposal that we shared in TC and Radical. So it's feeling good, actually.
Cool. Thanks for that update. And thanks everyone for joining today. We are at the top of the hour, and I wish everyone a good rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dan.